Hey there, it's Dusty with a Best Reverted or Update story for you. This one is my 30 female student, 18 male, made a super creepy comment. My husband, 35 male, thinks I'm being paranoid. Trigger warnings: stalking, harassment, invasion of privacy. Originally posted January 21st, 2025. I'm a high school English teacher and have been for a few years. In that time, as a woman, I've been used to teenage boys behaving awkwardly around me sometimes, and pheromones are a part of the deal. There have been occasional comments, but generally the vein of, "Miss So-and-so has a crush on you," or "Miss, would you be so-and-so's Valentine?" It's all in good humor. Well, look, there it is, being a Valentine. I'll be damned. It's all in good humor in front of the whole class or a large group and is well-meaning. My school throws a January ball for seniors, 16 to 18, which is basically an opportunity to celebrate the start of another calendar year. As it's after hours, not every teacher has to attend, and this year I was asked to chaperone. There's no alcohol permitted, but obviously some of them sneak hip flasks and so on. During this month's ball, 2 students were huddled at a table in the corner of the hall, not dancing, just keeping to themselves. I know them well as problematic students who have difficulty socially, but also perform poorly academically, so they don't fit in with the popular crowd or the nerdy lot. We have some of these every year: poor hygiene, greasy hair, long fingernails, that sort of thing. Immediately I could tell that they had been drinking from the way they spoke and smelled, and asked them to hand over the alcohol they had. One of the boys, call him Stuart, started protesting. He said the following, and I'm 100% sure this is what he actually said. Come on, miss, don't pretend you won't open up that bottle of Bailey's when you get home, feet up in your dressing gown watching the new TV. Give us a break. Either that's a completely random statement, or maybe he's a really good guesser, or somebody's got a stalker. Now, as soon as he said this, I felt my heart drop into my stomach and got cold all over. I had just bought a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream for myself the weekend before the dance. I am in the habit on nights where I don't have much marking or planning and want to treat myself of having a bath and watching a movie or series in my dressing gown. My husband bought a new television over Christmas. I asked him how he knew these things, and he feigned ignorance, basically saying it was a lucky guess. I was so shaken that I left them, and a short while later they both left. But that night I could barely sleep, and my paranoia kept growing. I simply cannot believe that he would have guessed all 3 of those things. One maybe, but no way all 3. My husband is away for work currently. I phoned and told him about it, and he basically downplayed my concerns, saying I probably mentioned those things to my class at various points, and this student has just remembered it, but I would never mention those things. I just wouldn't, and I'm sure I haven't. I've become more skittish at home when I hear noises. I only live in a small house, but when I arrive home from buying groceries, I check every single room and cupboard before I lock the doors. I've also arranged to have the locks changed. When cars stop outside the house, I turn all the lights off and peek at them through the blinds. I'm having trouble sleeping. In class, this student is quiet and the same as ever, not completing homework assignments, distracted in class. My husband is growing increasingly exasperated and worried for my mental health than the possibility that this student could somehow know details of my personal life. I mentioned it to my supervisor as well, and she also basically reasoned that I had either misheard what he said, it was a coincidence, or a combination of the two. Hold on. OP's spoken up. Okay, first to her husband, who multiple times downplayed it, and then goes to a supervisor to show a concern and gets dismissed as well. So not only is she feeling threatened and like she's being watched, she's also being made to feel like she's crazy for feeling threatened and like she's being watched. This would be enough to make anybody crazy. What's the play here? I'm seriously freaked out and don't know how to even begin putting this to rest. There is an update. Before we get into that, thoughts. Crazy. We notice shit men do not always notice. We can feel the creepy vibe from a mile away. Yeah. The vibe is a thing. Guys, it's a thing. And whatever antenna is installed to be able to pick up on it, either like we just don't have one or I just don't have one. Okay, so it's built out of necessity because you have to, and I understand that. But look, as your husband, if you had told this to me, you know the first discussion that we would be having, and that would be to make sure that you are physically well defended, right? Like physically protected.
You would not dismiss me.
I would not dismiss you. We would immediately do everything that we could and then figure out how to do more. Hubby fail.
Dusty would be visiting.
Hubby fail hard. I would begin working in the shadows quickly. Hubby fail hard. Supervisor fail hard too. What is happening? The people that she's supposed to be able to depend on here are the ones failing her. Like, what the? Here's the update. I wasn't expecting this post to receive so much attention. I'm really grateful to so many people who have validated my concerns and helped me develop a plan of action. I got home a little while ago and I'm going out shortly with a friend to try to rule out Bluetooth and Wi-Fi devices with my neighbors. After that, the two of us will try and conduct a meticulous search of the house for any concealed devices, using the lights out phone camera trick some people recommended and some other tips I found online. Just to clarify, a couple of points that I've seen raised a few times. Dressing gown is a really common term here in England for what Americans might call a robe. It's absolutely common parlance. Is parlance a word? Parlance? Parlance! That's how we'd say it here. Parlance. Here, most people I know would associate a robe with something a wizard might wear. Understood. In terms of it being a lucky guess, if he had just said relax with a glass of wine, I might have assumed so. But the dressing gown comment plus the Bailey's comment when I had just bought a bottle and the explicit mention of a new television, which I am 100% certain I did not misinterpret, these things make it so much harder to write off as a coincidence. As far as social media goes, I have Instagram, which is set to private under my maiden name, and my profile picture is not of me. I am not in the habit of connecting with former students. I only have 3 who have all gone on to study English at university and have used me as references. I also have a Snapchat, which I only use with my husband and very close friends. I have posted nothing about my new television, and I also don't think I've mentioned this to my colleagues, let alone students. Certainly, I said nothing about the Baileys I just bought. Relevant comments? I mean, what if this kid lives right across the street and sees the trash that they set out? Like TV box, easy to see. Baileys, empty bottle, maybe. But no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If the hackles are up, the hackles are up. The defenses go up too. Relevant comments. 1, is it possible that you or your husband were observed buying the new TV in the Baileys? The student's parents could have seen either purchase and said, OP just got a new LG 65-inch. I agree you should do a sweep for cameras or ask a techish friend for help, but that would necessitate figuring out how the cameras got there, which opens up a larger conspiracy. OP's response, how do I do a sweep for cameras? Genuinely want to know. Response, well, I'm in IT, but not that area. If there was a camera, logically, it would have to be transmitting, so probably using a Wi-Fi connection. I've read that skimmers in gas station credit card payment units can send data through Wi-Fi so the bad actor doesn't have to retrieve it. That Wi-Fi should show up on your phone if you look at various Wi-Fi offerings on your phone. You'd have to take into consideration closeness of neighbor's house and their routers, so it's a guess. How a camera got there is another puzzle. Occam's razor says to look at the easier likelihood. So can someone be looking in your window as you sit Bailey's in a nightgown and also noticed your recycle bin with your disregarded LG TV box recently? 2, I'm not a huge techie, but I've been around the block a few times. Your husband is being naive. And while I appreciate people trying to encourage you that the surveillance is happening via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and of course investigate those avenues, please also take seriously the idea that you are being stalked. Even stalking for fun with no malicious intent. I mentioned in a separate comment the idea of a dog, and there are also many DIY ways of alarming or otherwise reinforcing your house that don't involve tech if you look on YouTube, for example. Hope you stay safe. All right, there's an update. Update January 26th, 2025. I wasn't going to post an update here, but the number of worried people who have reached out to me made me reconsider. After a thorough search of my house, I found 2 devices. They seem to be camera devices. I don't know if audio is included. One of them was in the smoke detector in my bedroom, while the other was concealed in the wall of my living room. Looking at an old picture of my bedroom, it looks like the smoke detector itself has changed very slightly. I think that the new one is a device in itself, which the culprit somehow switched out with the old one without us noticing. The matter has now been referred to the police. If it wasn't for so many of you taking me seriously and giving me practical advice, I would not have had the courage to check, especially given my husband downplaying the concerns. Yeah, how's he doing now? He has been very apologetic and is coming back from his work trip early, but I've asked to spend some time apart and will be staying at my parents' for a while. Oh, that's how he's doing. Deserves it. I'm glad I raised the issue with the head at my school and a couple of others, as there's a paper trail, another suggestion from the thread. Needless to say, I'm completely shaken to my core, and I have the most revolting feeling of my privacy being invaded. I have no idea how many people have been involved in this, but phones have been taken from students, and we should have more answers soon. I won't be making any more posts or updates. Thank you again to everyone for affirming me and making me feel sane. Hey, hell yeah, guess what? Reddit is probably the only thing that prevented this woman from actually going insane. And how long had this been going on? And one of the kids had to be drunk to slip up and say something. And hubby completely dismissed it. Supervisor completely dismissed it. The only person or people or group that she was in contact with that did not dismiss it was Reddit. Validated. Tater, what do you think? The rage I would feel as a husband, like confirming that somebody was doing shit like this, would lead to action.
How do you know that the husband isn't in on it? Or the husband isn't posting video footage of his wife? Or that doesn't. Here's the thing. As a woman, when I go outside of my home, I am on high alert, especially if he is not with me. I'm on high alert to protect my kids, but if I'm by myself, I'm on even more high alert. And if I come home and I don't have reassurance and feel safe in my own home, then what the point is there in having this husband there who just completely dismisses my fears, which are rational fears? Because as a woman, you have to pay attention and you have to know your surroundings and you have to watch what's going on. And that is the world that we live in. That equality will never happen in those things. There will never not be moments where a woman does not have to be on high alert when she is alone in public or alone in public with her kids. When I am with him, I don't have to feel that way. But I would never stay in a marriage where a man dismissed my concerns for my own safety, because you are the one person who is supposed to want to be there and protect me as much as I want to protect myself. And it pisses me off so bad that I have to teach my daughters how to be aware of their surroundings, because it sucks. And it sucks that their safety is like, it just sucks. It sucks for women to have to face this shit. And for someone that you marry who's supposed to protect you, not to be there, like that sucks. That would make me want to leave that person.
His being suspect in this completely took me off guard, because I can't fathom doing that to the person that you pledged your love to and you're supposed to be doing life with. Like, you don't deserve her. You deserve jail time, and you deserve whatever's going to happen to you in cell block D, because those guys, when they get whiff of this, will take care of it.
It's and I didn't mean to derail the story from what it is, but God, it's, I was at the store the other night, and it was the first time. Normally it's like all of us, or Ava is with me, and I found myself by myself at the store, and those, like, you just feel there's this level of fear that you feel when you are alone in a dark parking lot, car parked by yourself. Like, there's this level of fear, and that level of fear that is a norm for women really sucks.
And you got back home and asked me.
I asked him, I'm like, do you feel that when you're alone in a dark parking lot at night? Do you feel like you always have to be aware of, like, who's walking towards you or who's around you or what they're doing? And he said no.
No, I will naturally be aware of my surroundings, but I don't have that. It's not out of like a fear though.
Right.
It's not because it's not out of fear. It's out of just general awareness. Like, I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on around me, but not because I'm immediately suspecting people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not because I have to fear. I don't go through that.
Right.
I don't have that the hair on the back of my neck does not stand up. You know what I mean? I don't get the vibe. I don't.
And it did. And it happened to me. There was a man who gave me he was by himself, and he walked out, and he was walking towards where my car is. And I looked up because I heard footsteps, and I saw him, and we made eye contact. And it was like a moment where I was just like uncertain, because I don't know who this man is. I don't know. And he's the only car that's parked there, and he walked to his car. But in that moment, I was like, he probably feels uncertain too, because I'm a woman by myself. And like there was this thing, but he did nothing, he did nothing wrong in that moment. But there is that fear where you're just the fear of the unknown, the fear that we've been conditioned in our lives to, because every woman has a fucking story. Every woman has been made to feel uncomfortable in her own skin. And I hate it. I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling and we all have a reason for that feeling. And I hate that part. And I think that's probably what makes me the most upset. And I hate that this woman didn't have the support that she needed from at work. She didn't have the support at home. Her neighbor and Reddit stepped up. Her neighbor helped her find the cameras, not her husband. The husband dismissed her, and which makes me think that he fucking knows something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just
look
feels
good for
weird.
him.
Feels weird.
Does not look good for him. And regardless, he doesn't deserve to keep her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Regardless, he failed.
No, he doesn't. He failed her in a moment where she needed him to be what he was supposed to be for her.